Over to you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Monday, April 25th,
Believe it or not.
and welcome to FYI. I'm Amanza, and I'm with your boy Sherrod, and we're so happy to be
Yeah,
here with
yo.
you this morning. We there. Hope you had a wonderful
Yeah.
weekend.
Hope you guys have.
We had a great weekend
Yeah,
in these parts.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us. You'll notice that one of our crew is not in studio, but we have a surprise later on in the morning for you. Jaretta Fernandez, she is out and about,
Yeah.
and so we'll be talking with her a little later in the morning. She'll be joining us. But welcome, guys! Remember to share the live, smash the emoji button so that everyone, as far as possible, can get credible information. Let's know where you're joining us from. Richard C. Passad and
Excellent.
Claire Capel and Maureen Coppin Williams. Sonia says good morning from Linden. Ah, Mariama says good morning from Atlanta. Share the live stream, guys,
Share the
and
live, share
so
it.
that
And let us know.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, let us know where you're joining us from, but you're right on that track.
Sean Winter says bonjour. Bonjour, Sean.
Yeah, right back. Blue Shoe, right back to you.
Not blue shoe.
Right back to you. Same thing. Blue Shoe.
Desiree
Right
says
back
a
to you.
pleasant good morning to all of you. Good morning to you, Desiree. Come on, guys, let's share the live
Yeah,
stream.
you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. You know what you
You
got
know
to
you
do.
got to do.
Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Treat to eat your heart out. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend.
Yes.
And I
had a
hope you
good
guys
one. It
got
was
got a
quite
chance to,
busy.
yeah,
Quite
got a
busy.
chance to, as we always say, be gentle with yourselves, spend some time with family,
Yes.
get
Yes.
some R&R,
Yes.
and you're fired up for the new week.
Good morning, Rohan Basantram. He says, good morning, Sheridan Amanza. Good morning, Rohan. Pauline Tech says, good morning from BIM. Good morning, Pauline. I hear you all are
Mm-mm.
having lovely sunshine there
and,
this morning.
and company.
And company.
Hmm.
Good morning from East Ranvelt
Yeah.
Yolanda says.
Yeah.
Can Prasad says, good morning, Can. I hope you
Yeah.
come with positive vibes today. It's
Hope
such a
so.
beautiful
Hope
day.
so. Don't spoil it.
And Sati Prasad, good morning. Cleveland Harley Quinn. Cleveland says good morning from Seattle, Washington. How is it up there, Cleveland? I know usually it's rainy. Ooh, I see somebody says good morning from Soweto. Good
You're
morning,
far.
Sheridan Amanda
You're
Cecile
far.
Ogle.
Soweto.
Wow,
That
wow.
that's a good little pull.
That's a little pull. That's a little pull.
Good little pull.
Miss Alfonso says good morning from Trinidad. Cecile
Wow.
Ogle says, where in the world is Joretta?
One
We will
wonders.
tell you in a minute.
One
We'll
wonders.
tell you in a
Sissy,
minute.
why you so fast? Why you all so fast?
Stanislav says he's watching from Sunderland, England.
Yeah.
Whiskey Session says he's watching from Tiger Bay.
Mhm,
Respect and
mhm.
manners. Good morning.
Respect and manners indeed.
Samantha Nicholson
Mhm.
says she's watching from Chester. Magnell Borough says no liars and backbiters on this live. Amen. Positive vibes only. All right.
We want
Remember
to
to
check
share
the
the
bats,
live stream.
Chinese crab post, the tadpoles, the crocodiles, the jumping birds, or the carrying crows.
But
No animal farm.
everyone else is welcome. Don
Everyone
Sullivan
else
says he's
welcome.
from the Bachelor's
Yeah, yeah,
Adventure East Coast Republic.
yeah.
Excellent. Maureen says she lives in Seattle.
Seattle, wow. Good for you.
I know the weather there is generally rainy.
I
How
hope,
is it,
yeah.
Maureen?
I hope
It's
she's been
busy.
getting her rest. Here, it's sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
Hope you're getting your rest down there. And guys, I don't want to.
Marlon says she already shared the damn live stream. Thank
Good,
you,
good,
Marlon.
good,
We
good.
appreciate
Present then.
that.
Present. Welcome.
Uh,
Admit one.
Let's be there.
Admit one.
Keith Dolan says, morning family out of Barbados.
Yeah.
And we have a special, I'm hearing birds
Go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
ocean and so on
Go
and
ahead.
so
We don't want
forth.
to keep our special
And
guests
so
waiting.
we have a special guest this morning, and we're going to patch her in. FYI has gone international.
Yeah, I'll
y'all.
try that. Patch in. Patch in.
So we're patching Doretta in. Doretta is enjoying the beach life, as you can see.
Mhm.
Doretta, good morning, my dear.
Good
We missed you on
morning.
this
Good morning,
end.
guys.
Pace and
Where in the
power.
world are you?
Well, actually, I'm here to associate with my colleagues from Barbados, the FYI family over here.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Nice.
You got up.
you know,
So,
Good morning, guys. I see Sheridan Man, so they look like they're enjoying themselves without me. So I'm
It's
gonna
so
have to pull
hard.
them into fitness.
It's so
So,
hard.
so Judah, tell our viewers where you are and why you're there.
actually, I'm here as a part of a conference, a Commonwealth conference on leadership, and what I can say is that quite a good experience thus far. I'm here representing the opposition in Guyana, and it has been quite a tremendous couple hours so far. We got here yesterday, and the folks from all over the Commonwealth. You see, folks, they're so hospitable and all of that. Beautiful people, and I look forward to the engagement today for this workshop. It's actually a 3-day workshop, and at the end of it, I will definitely be briefing you guys on the accomplishments that we have made.
Wow.
So
So,
yeah.
so how has it been so far? How has it been so far?
Doretta seeing
How's
beach
Bim?
behind you. And
Yeah,
I'm
but
feeling
I
a
think
type of a way because,
I feel a little way.
anybody who knows me knows that I love the beach life. Have you
But
been
actually,
swimming
I'm
yet?
I'm actually joining you this morning from. I'm actually joining you from the veranda to my room because I'm ready to go to the conference. I said I'm going to stop in before. FYI, family is super super important to me,
What a
and
view.
I am definitely looking forward to meeting some of the folks here, some of the FYI family. So if you are here in Barbados and you want to just touch base before I head back, just let us know. I think if you message
Mm-hmm.
Sherrod, you know the number, and we'll be
Mm-hmm.
sure to have
Absolutely.
that organized.
Yeah, WhatsApp Sharon or
Yeah,
hit Doretta up on her Facebook page.
Facebook.
You can
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
inbox her,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
certainly,
yeah. Jarita's a girl with
certainly,
your things. Check with you. Please
and,
and
and
thank
and
you.
make sure you go swimming. That salt water is wonderful.
Yeah, well, I'll try, but I think more so it's a work trip, so you have to see if you can sneak that in
Yes,
sometime
absolutely,
late in the
absolutely.
afternoon.
So we're about to head into the morning papers. Judah, what's happening there at GRN? You get a chance to look at the
Well, I haven't
Barbados today.
But I haven't got a chance to pick up a paper. Actually, before I came on the show, Shared is very particular with his papers. So before I came on the show, I asked someone to grab the papers for me, but they didn't get back as yet before the show started. So I said, whatever, we're gonna do it tomorrow morning. So but it's quite I would only imagine the papers if I'm to give any bit of a little article. I would say, Barbados is beautiful, amazing people. All my interactions thus far, right through. So I haven't got a chance, like I said, to actually see what is in the Barbados today as yet, but I will be picking that paper up in the morning, well, during the course of the day, so I'll be able to share in the morning, and hopefully tomorrow before the program starts, I'll be able to pick up tomorrow's paper also, because I know how important that is for you, Mr. Duncan. The physical copy.
Respect about us.
Right.
Good, Doretta. It's good seeing you. Enjoy the conference, and we'll hear from you again soon. And remember, if you're in Barbados, inbox Doretta, and let's have a big FYI family reunion as she's there, and
On our behalf.
and show her some good Bajan hospitality. Cheers,
Okay,
Betsy, my
guys.
dear. Enjoy.
You take care,
So all of
everyone.
the folks who are joining us in Barbados, you all know where Jarita they know. Should I write by y'all?
Yeah,
Right by
very,
y'all.
very. Right
Right?
here, not too
And
far,
we
just
want to
up the
see
road around the
pictures,
corner,
lots and lots of pictures.
Just up the road around the corner by the beach.
Awesome,
That's
awesome.
about the news. So,
Oh my
guys,
God.
have a good day without me, FYI family. I love you all dearly. Make sure that you do what you have to do. Share the live stream, as we always say. Remember to do all the necessaries and manner. Sharon is showing the actions right now. Continue to support, and I am sure Sharon has a packed program there, and himself and Amanda will walk you through it in my absence. Have a great day, guys.
All right, Doretta, bless you, and please stay safe. We love
I
you.
will, of course.
All right.
Stay safe.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep. That's Jarita for us. What more y'all want though? Pim.
Cecile, your question has been answered.
You can take it easy now for the rest of the day.
Your
Yeah,
question has
yeah.
been answered. It's so good of Doretta to be able
Yes,
to join
we're,
us.
we're, we're, we're so happy. We're so happy. We get around. You were in London recently,
Yes.
then you went to the US, Rita's in Barbados.
We have
Them
a
guys
good
got a things. Good morning, folks. Good morning to each and every one of you. And we want to start off by talking about, some of the stuff that making the morning papers.
Right.
Yeah, and quite a couple of things. Quite a couple of
There's a
things.
lot
I
happening.
don't even know where to start. It's so much stuff. Right? For instance, it's Monday, and we see that Linden Chong Week started yesterday. I see what you're opening.
Absolutely.
Amanda, you from
Absolutely.
Linden, and incidentally,
Yes,
I'm from Linden as
I grew
well.
up in Linden, two Lindeners,
Mhm.
and I hear it went off with a bang.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward. And Linden FYI is gonna be coming your way sometime this week.
Yes,
We'll let
we
you know what
fast.
day because we
fast.
are going to be in Linden. I got pretty good reviews, It's really it's so satisfying as a Lindener to see how far Linden Tongue Day has come. And we want to encourage the organizing committee to keep up the good work. And we will be joining you. I know they have a calendar chock full of activities, and tomorrow we'll be sharing that calendar with you. So, guys, pick a day. Maybe it's going to be the weekend because I know so many of us work, and just head up to Linden. Beautiful scenery. There's kayaking. There's a lot of activities. There are a lot of activities to do, and so support the Linden Tongue Week, and the mayor, the regional chair, Aaron. We'll see you guys sometime this week. The FYI train will be moving through Linden.
One to encourage them Barbados,
but the other two, we there.
Yeah.
And it says, it's interesting. It says, Teixeira says IRI polls highly questionable.
Yeah. That's one of the things on the trend this morning we're gonna be talking about, because it's very interesting because I think it was the administration who was pushing to have the IRI team here.
Man, it was Anil that said that the IRI team would be assisting in electoral reform to make sure what happened in March 2020 never happens again. But here, their poll is unreliable. We'll speak some more about that.
Yeah. And there's this case of this young woman who went missing a couple of days ago, who has been found. And the story seemed to have churned a little bit based on the reports we got out of the papers. Miss Lal, I think I'm trying to remember her first name. Alicia Lal, is that the first name?
Yeah.
And they're telling us that she has been found, as we said, but she is alleging that her mother has been abusive to her, and so the Child Protection Agency has taken her into, well, I don't want to say custody. She's with them.
Care, yes.
Yeah, into their care.
Yes.
And we're gonna be following up how this pan out. And we have been talking, for instance, at our end over the weekend. One of the stories we would have put out on credible sources or affiliate website is that there are quite a few young ladies and young men too who have gone missing. And we're going to be following up on this shortly. Erica Lal is the young lady's name. Erica Lal. And she has been found. I know, for instance, Simona Brooms, as well as former Minister Simona Brooms, as well as Melly Mel. We call her Melly Mel so often I try to remember what is her correct name.
I'm thinking it's Melissa. Is her
Melissa
first name?
Atwell.
Okay.
Melissa Atwell. We call her Melly Mel so often. But Melly Mel, aka Melissa Atwell, or Melissa Atwell, aka Melly Mel. She was also a part of that search for Miss Lal. And the report says that she has been found. And again, she's alleging that her mother has been abusive to her. Of course, we're gonna try to get all of the details on that, and we're gonna talk about that a little later on.
But kudos to Simona and her team.
Yes, also there.
She has always been doing stellar work as it relates to trafficking in persons, and this is an issue. A lot of times we celebrate. We have oil and we have an oil economy and there's money, but we have to be conscious that with money, it attracts amplifies a lot of the social ills. And so trafficking in persons, child trafficking, child pornography, all of these things, we have to begin to put systems in place to deal with. Because these are some of the negative spin-offs of this type of economy, and we can't blind our eyes to it. So kudos to Simona and Melissa on locating the young lady. And I think she will need effective counseling.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Should
And
need
you know,
effective counseling.
our thoughts and our prayers are with all the families who got somebody who's
Who have
missing,
children who are
right?
missing. As a
People,
mother,
yeah,
if I can't account for my children in an hour for an hour,
yeah,
I lose it. So
yeah.
I can only imagine, what those parents must be going through. And so our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we want to encourage the police to do everything that they can. And again, it points to capacity. We have to develop capacity in the police force or in the CPS, the Child Protective Services,
Mhm.
to be able to deal with these things. The reality is that these social ills are real. Children are being trafficked, women are being
Correct,
trafficked,
correct.
and so as a society, we have to become a little more aware, a little more alert, and be each other's keeper.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And, we understand we're that kind of a special country where we got, as you said, amounts of trafficking in persons. And then we got some intense circumstances in which lots of families exist. And so, yeah, these are all very
Absolutely, they
sensitive
become
issues.
vulnerable. Um, and then our porous borders makes it very easy for somebody to disappear across the border, and you
Yeah.
don't know. So we have to be a little more mindful and a little more vigilant. And we want to encourage you, FYI family, to be on the lookout. Look out for these children. If you see a missing poster, share it. Share it widely, just the way we ask you to share this live program, but share these things so that people are aware.
Yeah.
And I think the Minister of Home Affairs probably needs to start looking into things like Amber Alerts that they have in the US, so that when children are missing, these things come to your cell phone, and so we can't be pedestrian anymore. We're moving, and we have to move with the times.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because, two of these instances spring to mind for me. One was a young lady who went missing for a little while now. And I remember a report saying within the last year that she was spotted at the Perica Stelling, and her family has been looking for her for a very long time. There was that. And she seemed to have vanished into thin air since then. I think she was caught on camera or something like that. Like somebody was just taking a photograph or a video.
And she was in the background.
Yeah, and she was in the background. And then quite recently, too, there's a young woman from the East Bank who went missing. And persons feared that was a case of abduction. But that was another situation where she had left home. And, I think a subsequent police report said that it was staged. This kidnapping and so on was staged. She wasn't coping well for some reason. And, a friend had put her away for a couple of days and so on. So it's all of these things,
There are a lot of
a
dynamics.
lot of dynamics. That's the term.
But you see, Sheridan points a deeper problem. And it's unfortunate that this government paradigm as it relates to mental health is so backward. Mental health, particularly after the pandemic and the vicissitudes of that, and the increase in cost of living, has come front and center. But we don't see a government that is paying attention to the nation's mental health. We of ourselves don't pay attention to our mental health. We will go to the doctor for our heart. We will go if our back hurts. We will go if we break a leg. But we do not pay attention to maintaining a healthy mind and healthy emotions.
And that's
because of the taboo.
And that is more than a relevant observation, because the first of those maladies you mentioned, most times we don't go until it's too late. Most times, if our head hurt, we say, "Oh, my pressure high," and you drink a malt or something. I don't know whether people take for the pressure, but we always tend to self-diagnose. Right? Your foot hurting. Oh, is it cold floor? You put on a socks, but you don't know it's and usually you engage health services until it's too.
Yeah. So this is something that we're gonna continue to focus on.
Correct.
Hopefully bring in some professionals too, because there are a lot of people who are clinically depressed and they don't know. There are a lot of people who are dealing with serious mental stress and are just a trigger away from just imploding. So we would want to encourage people though to treat people with grace. People dealing with stuff. And so every day you go about, you see somebody, just treat them with grace. Understand that people are dealing with things. The cost of living high.
That alone.
I mean, there are people who are struggling to feed their family.
You gotta wake up every day. You think about that. How these children eat? How they going to do? School reopens today. I think it is. Right? A lot of people got to look at their bottom line as a family and think, could I send these children? How many students going to stay home just for the want of of me. As a matter of fact, a colleague, Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
listeners, viewers, related to me just last evening that they have been doing a feeding program.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said is that she was so surprised by the number of young people who were on the streets and who were hungry. They were struck, the team, they were really struck by that, the amount of young people who were on
Right.
the streets and hungry.
And that is a reality of what we live in
Yeah.
now. And so while our GDP is showing this, the reality on the ground is that there are people who are hungry.
Yeah.
There are people
Yep.
who are losing their homes because they can't afford rent. There is famine in the midst of plenty. And this is why you see sometimes it appears as though our discussion may be all over the place, but they are all so interrelated because schools reopen today and their parents who don't have passage for their children to go to school.
Correct.
This is why an initiative like the 5Bs was so important. That children have buses that they can jump on free of cost to get to school.
Yeah.
That when they get to school, they have a warm breakfast,
They got
at least, or a
boats.
meal.
And I want to touch on boats because we covered here just the other day where there were two boats in Bartica who used to be used in the riverine areas there to transport students and teachers to school. They're all but sunk now, at the mercy of the elements and, been left there, derelict now.
Been left there.
All because
you have a government that cannot see past the fact that this was a David Granger initiative that benefited children. Because ego and pride is just so much. And the Guyanese people continue to pay the price.
Yeah.
And so you have children in the riverine areas and teachers who are struggling now to get to school. But this is the kicker, and this is where our people have to wake up. Giving somebody $19,000 per child once a year, if you sit down and you do the math, does not equate to that child being able to travel to school free of cost every day.
Yeah.
Sit down and do the math. Let's say a parent spends $400 on one child, and she may have three.
Mm-hmm.
So the PPP government, what they do is that they engage in a sleight of hand. But we as a population have to become more aware.
And demand more. Yes.
And demand more.
That's
you give me $19,000. That is transportation for 2 weeks for some families, right? And then I notice now they're reintroducing buses as if this is something new, but they've allowed the David G buses to sit there and rot.
And are rotting as we speak. Millions of dollars worth in equipment, basically, in most of transportation, the boats, the buses, just rotting away, all because it was something.
And bicycles,
thought of the previous administration. That's just. And Manju, you said I think last week. We cannot run a country by breaking down everything every 5 years.
Where are we going to go?
That's where we are.
Where are we going to go? Every 5 years. I have noticed in some countries when governments take over. For example, in St. Lucia, the new government acknowledged, look, these projects were in the pipeline and we intend to continue them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That is actually maturity.
And for this administration to say that is like blasphemy. We intend to continue this project of the last year. Blasphemy.
So they rebrand it.
You think it's the devil?
I just think that they do not care about people. I think that that small group at the top, they're only interested in themselves and they give crumbs to the people. This grand idea that Irfan has about building houses for CPL, we must let the public know that this is how Festival City got its name. Because hundreds of prefabricated houses were built for the first Carifesta.
Yeah.
And this is how Festival City was formed. And if you go into Festival City, you'll find that all of the streets, you have Nutmeg Street, all of the streets are named after a particular feature of a CARICOM country. So Nutmeg Street in honor of Grenada.
Yeah.
That who's,
Yeah, there's the Isle of Barbados.
The Isle of Nutmeg. There's so many things.
Barbados.
So this is nothing new that he has come up with. What he is doing is thriving on the fact that historically a lot of our people are unaware of what would have
But that's why
transpired.
we're here.
So
FYI.
this is for your information.
FYI.
So it's not anything new.
FYI.
Not anything new.
Good to see Gwenna Jones and Magnell Barrow, Dave Jurel and Beverly Trim. Good to see Marilyn Thomas and all you fantastic folks. Sandra Brotherson says, Amanda, when you came back, you were missing a lot. So
Sharon next.
Things wrong, I tell you.
And so, guys, it's always a pleasure to see you. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that we are able to have this forum to sit and chat with you and to share credible information.
What are you guys having? What are you guys having for breakfast? Let us pull up a chair now, man. Y'all done cleaning since 4 o'clock in the morning. Sit down a little bit now. Shucks. Some people since 3, 4 o'clock they're done cleaning. They're still up cleaning, washing and dusting. Nobody visiting, you know, but they're dusting every day.
No, but
taking down blind put it.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. I can't wrap that. I can't wrap that. But guys, thank you for joining us. Remember to share the live stream as we continue to share valid and credible information.
Always.
What's
valid
in the morning trend?
and credible. What's in the trend? Well, a couple of things. A couple of things in the trend. And I think we're starting out of France because they had an election recently.
Yes.
Right? Elections are consequences.
And Emmanuel Macron has returned.
Yeah, believe it or not, he has defeated Marine Le Pen, right?
Yep.
And you know, that other party there, which in my mind was a French party, but they managed. They've been coming around. They got, I think, 42% of the vote. So that's what happened in France over the weekend.
Macron is back.
Right. That happened in
back.
France. Yep.
But you know, and again, it's just testimony to how democracy can work. You go, you cast your ballot. You do so honestly, not have 49 boxes without documentation.
You think the French would allow that?
And so forth. No. The French people would never allow that.
No.
Would never allow that. And congratulations to him, and may he rule well. I see he says he vows to govern for all of France, and so the world will watch, and history will judge. You
mean a man say Ian tried to change his motto and so on? He just vowing to lead for everybody. That's what you say.
Yeah.
It's one France. It's one France. Yeah. No. All right. We're gonna follow. But some other things that we're following internationally, and this is interesting because Nicaragua has expelled the OAS and has exited early from the organization. You know, Nicaragua got its own issues as a country. That's number one. But then I think the OAS got its own issues as well.
As we have been seeing.
Yeah.
So these actions have implications.
Yeah.
There have been a number of articles that have been written which suggested that the OAS may be playing a role in achieving the objectives of certain larger larger states and playing a key interventionist role. And those of us who can hearken back to our own 2020 elections, we may recall that there were statements made, etc. So it's very interesting. It's something that we're going to keep following and monitoring because it certainly has implications for us because we are members. We are a member state of the OAS, and so we'll be following that very, very closely.
And there was quite an indictment in the OAS coming out of the Chilean election because they said that they pronounced that the election was rigged and all manner of things. But it was far from the truth.
And it was far from the truth. And the leader was subsequently exonerated.
Yeah, because the case was challenged at the level of the courts.
Of the court.
Yeah, it's interesting how that went.
It is so interesting to see how these organizations are used to shape popular opinion and to influence outcomes.
And it's going to get interesting, Amanda, because part of the trend this morning, we're talking about, as you know, the report that is out of the State Department that looks at human rights issues in Guyana.
Very
and we're going to connect the dots with some of that is concerned. Interestingly enough, we learned as we were on the OAS last week that Guyana voted in the OAS to suspend Russia as an observer nation, but it is something quite different at the
At the
UN,
UN.
right?
Yeah.
They voted not,
Yes.
well, they abstained, I think, from ousting Russia as part of the Human
Yep.
Rights
Yep.
Commission Committee of the UN, whatever their body is. But somebody gave them a phone call.
Quite surprising. Quite
And they took a
surprising.
U-turn in the
Well,
OAS.
well, again, I've been saying, and as shadow foreign, that our foreign policy it doesn't have a north star anymore.
Mhm.
It's very, very transactional. And so this flip-flopping is what you will continue to see, because that is the hallmark of a transactional government. So I'm not surprised. Todd and them,
Well, once
they
you said
really
that, you kind of diminish the discussion. Right. Yeah, but we're going to continue to follow
we're gonna have to
events
continue to
on that
follow
front.
those events,
Yeah.
because they have implications for our country in the long run. I mean, they may seem expedient today, but they do have implications. And if it's one thing that history teaches us, is that these things, you may disregard them now, but they pop up years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
yep. To your own detriment.
To your
That
own
being said,
detriment.
closer in the region, this is what's happening. We saw in Dominica overnight a former opposition senator, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, was arrested at the airport. Now, Dr. Fontaine was implicated in a matter since 2018 in Dominica, a court issue, and he had a warrant out for him, but he was working and works in I can't remember which African country it is, but he works in the African continent.
Right.
And he's recently returned to Dominica. But the law is the law. And so when Dr. Fontaine touched down at the airport, them
He
boys
was
gone with Dr.
arrested.
Fontaine. Right?
So,
The law actually works in some countries,
Well,
Believe it or not, Amanda.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
right? The law actually works in some countries.
Yes, this is something we're gonna have to monitor very closely.
Yep.
To see, where it goes.
Yep, former opposition senator there in Dominica. And it's amazing, Amanda, how, this, if the world is a global village, really, really and truly, the region is your next door neighbor. What happens in Dominica got implications here and all these.
It does.
These were exotic, far-flung places when I was
when
young.
we were
Now
younger.
it's
Yes, and
right there.
And you see, what you're seeing is a bringing to account of leadership. You notice was it the president of Honduras that is now
Yes, correct.
before the courts in the
Yeah.
US? These things have consequences, which is why I keep saying that you can do what you want, but never for as long as you want.
Yep. The law actually works in some places. And a bit closer to home, we've been tracking this over the weekend. On Saturday, we learned that two young men were found in the parking lot of the Marriott hotel there in Georgetown. And the rumors and the speculations, the conjectures, they have been rife. And first and foremost, thoughts and prayers to the family.
Absolutely.
The police are still continuing the investigation as to the circumstances surrounding their demise. But we have learned that a white substance was found in the backseat of the car. Both of them were in the passenger and driver's seat up front, and a white substance
was found in the back.
Yeah, it's found in the back.
Suspect that may be cyanide.
Yeah.
Look, I'm speaking here in terms of our investigative capacity. Why is it that we don't have the facilities to test a substance to be sure that it's cyanide up to now? And we're still sending samples overseas.
Billions go to this. Billions go to this.
Basic issue. Our labs can test. In when there was a Jonestown tragedy, it was cyanide that was used. We had to send samples overseas then. 40-something years later, we still doing this. I mean, if we continue to engage in the type of petty tit-for-tat politics that we are, Guyana is going to suffer. Now, as it relates to those two young men, it's such a tragedy. I know one of them had a beautiful singing voice. I was hearing him on somebody posted one of the songs that he did. Just two young lives, just full of potential. Cut down, well, not cut down, but I am not sure the depth of what they could have been experiencing that made this seem like the option.
And one of them, according to reports out there, was supposed to be getting married next month.
And so you have left just a family with wounds, without answers, and just this. And again, it points to some serious issues that we have in society. I was appalled that 2 young men had lost their lives. And you see the commentary on Facebook. Who cares what their sexual orientation was? Why does that matter? These are 2 human beings with lives, with people that loved them. I mean, I think sometimes we in this society rub salt in wounds. We're not healers. We don't heal. We don't cover. We don't. And that blame has to be placed squarely on our doorstep. Right?
I hear
How do you?
I hear that.
I mean, a mother is mourning the loss of her son this morning. Can't we not find it in ourselves just to be kind? Send thoughts and prayers. I think we have to really begin to do some national introspection as a nation.
Correct is right. Moving on, other issues occupying the attention of the nation, indigenous leaders, Amanda. They slammed the government for drafting the LCDS without consultations. And part of the challenge here is that there's a very strongly worded letter from indigenous leaders in which they said that even the initial drafting of the LCDS should have had their attention, and now the government wants to come when they have a draft out to consult, and they're not seeing lots of their issues represented there. As a matter of fact, one of the things that they're looking at, they said only 15% of revenues that comes from the forest, which they have a right to large swaths. Only 15% of revenues go to, directly to indigenous causes.
Yeah. And I mean, why are we surprised? Again, we keep being surprised when the PPP government is the PPP government. This is how they are. You'll recall that when Guyana was preparing its nationally determined contributions, when we were preparing for the big Glasgow summit, there was a sham of a consultation that we walked into and said, look, this will not do. You have not consulted with the indigenous peoples. And the story is there. We'll run it sometime. You've not consulted with the indigenous peoples. You have not consulted with women. And what we need to understand is that their conventions and all of these climate change conventions, climate conventions, they particularly stress the need for consultation with indigenous communities and women, because what the science is showing is that women bear disproportionately the larger impact of climate adverse events. And so you have to consult. The other issue that we have is the same breaking and building that we're talking about. The reality is, and the facts are, one, the Green State Development Strategy is a far more superior document to the LCDS. But it did not disregard the LCDS. What it did is that it took the LCDS and it built on it. And you had in excess of, I think it was maybe 400 and something consultation sessions across the country before the Green State Development Strategy was implemented. And so there wasn't a lack of consultation. Civil society was an important part of crafting that document. So it was a document that came from the people. It was not something that is top-down imposed. But LCDS is Jack Deo's baby.
So we throw the Green
and
State.
So it means we throw the Green State, and what they will attempt to do is to force the LCDS down the throats of Guyanese. And this is what the indigenous community is pointing out. How can you develop a draft without first getting all of the input? You're coming to me and say, look, I prepare this thing here for you. You ain't know what you're doing? Take this thing and read it, stamp it off so that we can get on with it. Disrespectful of the intelligence of the Guyanese.
Another challenge they have too is that the fact You haven't had, like local government elections, you haven't had elections for the National Two-Show Council.
Haven't had
And they're asking,
elections to the
when is this
National
going to
Social
happen?
Council. You have not had internal elections in the municipalities. And lo and behold, the shadow minister, Mr. Ganesh Mahipal, in the National Assembly asked Nigel Dharamlal, what is the reason? And he says something with GCOM. GCOM has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with that. But again, this is where we see the complete disregard for local democracy. And Guyanese must understand that local democracy means that you in a community are allowed to govern yourself and determine what is in your community's best interests. So when a government does not hold local government elections, what they're saying is that you aren't good enough to manage your own affairs. Let us tell you what got to be done. So we can put in IMCs and we will impose our rule on you and we will do what we want. And the reality is that they're allowed to do it because we, the people, let them.
Yeah. And talking about the PPP being the PPP, over the weekend, this issue is back in the fore because, again, we just passed yet another anniversary of the death of former Minister of Government, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, Saturday Saw. It's been 16 years, man, 16 years since his death. And his family is once again, his son had a letter in the papers asking for the government in which his father served to have an inquiry 16 years later. They haven't had an inquiry into the death of one of its ministers. And just to think, if this is how they treat their ministers, how would they treat me or you?
And so this is the point that I'm saying.
He served with them. He was a sitting minister when he met his demise. 16 years on.
This is their colleague. This was somebody that sat with them shoulder to shoulder in the National Assembly. But they want to come to convince Guyanese that they love and care for them. And this man, his siblings were slaughtered.
Correct.
And somebody that you love and care for. So we have to open our eyes. We have to open our eyes and we have to stop falling for all of this cheap talk. Look at the actions. Anybody can have sweet words. Look at the actions. My brother, my comrade in arms. And I can't find out.
16 years after. And not only did Minister Saturday Saw was he assassinated, he had two siblings who were also killed on that fateful day. Rajpat Shaw and Pulmati Prasad were also killed, along with the security guard, Curtis Robertson. And so severe was that attack. They shot a dog as well. They shot a dog. And also there were some others who were injured. Albert Mangra and Anga Khan, they were guards on duty at the time. And another sibling of the Shaws, Prakash Shaw, was also injured at the time. Can you imagine that? Just the death of a minister of government in this gruesome manner, where people stormed his house and shot him dead. And to date,
and you see, and
no inquiry.
Look at how many families were affected by that, because he had children. His sister and brother had their own families. But the PPP government can't investigate it yet. But they care about Guyana, and they want one Guyana, and they care about Guyanese.
And I want to read something his son Roger Shaw, who wrote the letter that brought this back to the fore again. Every year, the family writes asking for some justice for their family. And the son writes, Roger Shaw writes, the year 2038 is far away from present day, right? As the year 206. This puts into context just how long it has been since Saturday Saw, his brother, his sister, and his security guard, not forgetting our family dog, were murdered in cold blood. Penning these annual letters bring no joy. The quest for answers, long and winding as it may be, continues. It would be remiss of us to not acknowledge that last year's 15th anniversary brought some welcome movement. But the reality is as stark as it is bleak. Thankfully, the ebullience of the Shaw family life invigorates our resolve every single day. May we not have to cast our minds much further for action and for answers. 16 years.
I have no words. I mean,
16 years. And a
of
man
one
who
of their
served
own.
with them
One
as
of their
minister,
own.
16 years and not even an inquiry. Something is wrong with that.
Not even an inquiry. Come to
Something
think
is
of
wrong
it,
with that.
Not even an
A
inquiry.
minister of your own government. Right? Something is wrong with that. And I don't care what talk you could come with. You see, I hope guy need to see true talk. See true platitudes.
This is what we have to
Right?
do.
They can come and talk about accountability,
Transparency,
good governance,
governance.
SOPs, all kinds of foolishness. And this is the acid test, This is
In the home.
Yeah.
Because this is in their backyard.
Yeah. A minister who sat with them in cabinet, executed orders of the government. He was a sitting minister. He wasn't wasn't a former. He was a minister of government. And men barged in his home and shot him dead.
And his siblings.
Right? And there's been no investigation. Right? Several names were called of people who were accused of being part of that. They said, all of them are dead now, by the way. But the family maintains these were not the intellectual authors. And more than anything else, people want to know why.
Yeah.
That question has not been answered.
Has never been answered.
Why? People don't just storm any house. Right? And you would know from the security, this is a minister that lives here. It's a government official that lives here. That would be known. You don't just pass him by and you see somebody running there. Right? And the family wants to know who are the intellectual authors. And for 16 years, that has been elusive. It takes me back to the fact that we have not had, that's another story by itself, and substantive chancellor and chief justice for 17 years. That in its own self needs justice.
It needs to be rectified as soon as possible.
Justice needs justice.
And Guyanese have to demand it.
Always comes back to
it
that.
should have been done under the APNUFC. It should have been done. There's no if or but about it. It ought to have been done. And Guyanese, we have to begin to have a sense of pride in our country that we demand these things. In which functioning democracy do you have a chancellor and a chief justice acting for 17 years?
17 years. And 16 years, 16 of that, Shahideo Saw's family have been waiting for justice. Right? Waiting for justice. But you can understand, if that doesn't, justice for Shahideo Saw is not high on agenda, I don't think Chief Justice and Chancellor of Judiciary appointing him going to be high on the agenda.
Justice for any Guyanese
is high on the agenda.
Is high on the agenda.
All right? We get so many complaints here. We could have a podcast every day on justice. We had 3 in the last week on where do people go for justice in this country. Because usually when you hear people's complaint, that's what they really want. They want justice. Somebody has wronged them. There's been an infraction. Where do you go for justice? Right? Somebody jam your car. Somebody park a container in front of your house. Right? People come at your house taking out photographs. Somebody, whatever is wrong, people do you. Where do people go for justice? You go to the police station and say, that's not a problem. We get them man and woman story. They send you someplace else. Back and forth, back and forth. Even that mother with a 14-year-old. Said she went to a lot of places. Run around. That's how Brooms and former Minister Brooms and Atwell got involved. Because last straw, she reached out to some folks. And that's where, what gets things done in this country? When you highlight it like this.
Yeah, and this is... And
you have a Facebook Live.
And this is what is important for Guyanese to understand. And I'm glad you hit on that point, because every person watching us right now has a smartphone and they're watching at us from a particular device. You become a reporter. Become a reporter. This government thrives on fear and they thrive on intimidation. But they can't intimidate all 750,000 Guyanese.
Yeah.
And so we really, as a nation, we have to begin to step up our game in terms of accountability. I deserve better as a Guyanese. I don't need to be treated like this.
Exactly. Which reminds me, yesterday on the podcast, we had a young lady, Sally Zal, who, like the Shaw family, in her own instance, in her own way, wants justice. She feels aggrieved that she wants justice. Her story is quite strange because she was honest enough to say she was recruited by somebody called I keep calling his name, Victor Singh. She says recruited her to go on Facebook and to bash people, especially of the then government and opposition, to bash people, talk ill about their family, their wife, their spouse, and so on, right? And she wants no part of that anymore. And she said this fella is bullying her, right? And she went. He came into the country recently, got a police officer from out of the district to come by her house, a female officer, dragged her down to the station and all of that.
I hope guys
Right.
I hope you guys are paying
Yeah.
attention to what is happening here. This is the reality of how these people operate. I keep saying, let us look at this thing. In a multicultural, multi-ethnic society, governance tends into one of two directions: inclusionary and consultative, or domination and control. And every action that you have seen from the government, from those they have appointed, you could literally draw a column, put inclusivity here and domination and control here, and you will literally see that every action that they've taken so far is bent to domination and control.
Yeah.
And we have to wake up. And the reality is that this entire conflict makes no sense. We are a bunch of brown and black people running around in this country fighting and killing each other.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Outsiders fetching away the wealth and the patrimony and everything else, and we just here. But you know what's interesting?
Wanting SOPs is most asinine.
Yeah, and I'm certain if you check the comments on this
We
live,
don't have
you can
SOP
see a lot of people asking where are SOPs?
Is Paul in the house?
Where are SOPs?
That's Paul's favorite thing.
But Amanda, what was interesting about
Ridiculous.
that discussion we had with that young lady on our podcast yesterday is the fact that after the podcast, the fellow called me. The fellow called me, right? And what is even strange is that, well, somebody purporting to be this Victor Singh called me. Let me just say that. Somebody purporting to be Victor Singh called me and said that the young lady's lying and tries to paint himself as an angel. He's an altar boy all of a sudden. So I said to him, it's quite strange because this is not the first woman, the first female who has approached me and said, you have degraded them, you've called their jobs and say that they've posted racist thing on Facebook and had them fired from the work and all that. It's not the first, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, not the fifth. But you were saying that he said that he doesn't belong to the PPP, he hates the PPP. And he's just a citizen and he just comes home and donates stuff and so on. And this girl is needy and she's actually the one trying to tarnish his reputation and his family. How she has no money, she's poor, and he's trying to help her. I said, then why are you suing her? If you know she's poor and she ain't got no money, what difference a lawsuit is going to make?
Because you see,
right?
This is how these people.
But the nature of the man came to the fore. Came to the fore.
You just have to allow them to keep talking.
And you know what he did? He called a whole set of people's name. Oh, this body in Canada something, and somebody in Canada, somebody wrong. I said, you know what's the problem with all y'all? Y'all idle. Y'all big, nasty and idle. Right? Big, nasty and idle. That's what I told him point blank. I said, because all y'all said, nothing to do with y'all time. A whole set of fake profile. I got 2 profiles. My Facebook personal profile and a page.
Your official page, yeah.
Right? If I can say something about you, I come in after you frontally. I ain't going to no fake profile. I don't have time with that. And that's what I told him. All of y'all nasty and idle. Those were my 2 words to him. Y'all nasty and idle. All of y'all. But at this point, the nature of the altar boy changed. Right? He said, you on social media begging for money? I'd never give you money. I said, I never call you.
Well, you know, this is what I often say in response to people like that. When a program is people-driven, you remain focused. Mm-hmm. The minute these guys start giving you money and the corporate and all, you have to get with their agenda.
The interest.
If you notice what AOC does, and a lot of them happily give to her campaign. Her campaign is 100% people funded, right? If 1 million people send you $5, you can get by with a campaign.
I hope, we hope.
Right?
Yeah.
But the point is, this is how they try to degrade you.
Yeah. And you know what we're talking about is justice. That's how we got here. And that young woman needs justice. She come in our program, and then this fellow
Well, I bet you Victor will not be interfering with her
trying to
anymore.
paint her. I said, you know, even if she says something, she's Guyanese. You and your family
Yes.
live overseas. How can that
Yes.
hurt you?
Yes. No, but you see,
You know.
what you have are a bunch of big men with small egos.
Yeah, he comes, gets a policeman.
Yes. And
Right?
that policeman would have accepted a little threat
Aye.
to do this.
Where's get justice in
A
this country?
complete breakdown of law and order. Yesterday, I joined this organization, Mothers Against Gun Violence. They had their inaugural walk on Main Street. The organization was founded by Miss Arifa Denny, who was Joshua Denny's mother. You recall Joshua was a 19-year-old electrician who was shot on his way to work and for his gold chain. And so she founded this organization, Mothers Against Gun Violence. And as we were walking and chanting, these were some of the things that we were talking about. Where do people go to get justice? We were marching and a minibus almost wiped a couple of us off the road, notwithstanding that there was a police escort at the front and in the back. And the point that we were raising is that, you know, there's so many policemen and women that own minibuses that believe that they can do the gods on the road.
Yeah. But I'm happy you're on that, because on Friday's program, our affiliate program, In the Ring, we were talking about how there was a similar march, I think a health march in Region 5. And similarly, there was a policeman escorting the marchers. He was knocked down. By a minibus.
Why are we so lawless
He was knocked down.
as a society? Law and order is breaking down. People park in the middle of the road, hold up a whole line of traffic because they can and because they know somebody.
Drive on the pave, you know. I was passing the new roundabout just this morning, Amanda, and I noticed their cars stopped on the roundabout. Something about that roundabout isn't functioning well.
I passed this morning and there was police presence trying to get people.
Something about that roundabout.
It's a bird.
All right. Man says the bird. It's the bird. It's the bird. It's the jumpy bird. Right. Something about that roundabout. Traffic's supposed to flow much smoother.
Something about that bird.
About something about what. But that being said, you know what's out? The bird is out, the jumpy bird is out, but you know what else is out? We've been talking about this, Mensa. All right. This is the State Department report. I guess a lot of people jumpy. Right? The U.S. State Department 2021 country report on human rights practices. And in this report, Amanda, they talked about when they talk about what they call them. I want to get the phrasing right.
Rule of law.
I want to make sure that we get the
respect for human rights. That part of it. There.
I want to make sure we get the phrasing right. The section of the report in which they talk about the killing of Boston, right?
Yeah.
I want to get the phrasing right. Guys, just bear with us. We want to give you valid and credible information, always. But this is the report that we were discussing, in which it seems as though the report refers to the observers saying that the elections were fair and credible. They didn't talk about free and fair. They didn't mention the word credible in the 2020 elections. That was quite telling.
Yeah. They
didn't use the word credible. They say observers noted that it was free and fair. But again, they stopped short of saying that the results were credible, right?
Notice the difference in language.
So there is that.
In the 2015 report.
The particular section, Amanda, this is on section 1, which is the respect for the integrity of the person, arbitrary deprivation of life, and other unlawful or politically motivated killings. I want to get that phrasing right, in which they talked about the killing of Orrin Boston and Peter Headley in particular. Right, and those were both telling incidences, because as we were rehearsing yesterday for our listeners on the podcast, Peter Headley was apprehended by police.
Yep.
He was placed in the passenger side of a vehicle, a policeman driving, a policeman in the backseat, and Peter Headley lost his life being shot in his back in a police vehicle. The police had claimed that he was reaching on the seat for a firearm,
Yeah.
right? And no firearm was ever
Never
recovered.
recovered.
And we know all too well what happened with Orange Boston, but for those of you who knew that issue, police SWAT team barged into his home in Essequibo, Dartmouth village, and shot him in his bed.
Whilst he was in bed with his wife next door.
Nothing
and
illegal
his
was ever found in the
children-
house.
And his children next door.
Nothing illegal was ever found in the house.
You see, the difficulty that the police that they have is you have to hold law enforcement to a higher standard.
Mhm.
And there's no accountability. And so every man is doing what is right in his own eyes. Now, there's some excellent policemen and policewomen, but they go into a broken system and they become frustrated because they're seeing just manifest and clearly before them just breaches of procedure, just, people being paid off. And sooner rather than later, they're like, well, what is the point in being a decent police officer? I'm just getting left behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're indoctrinated into that system. And we just have so much work to do in this country. So much work. I do not understand why we think that the way we are is where we have to remain. And I do not understand for the life of me why one side of the political divide would feel that to deprive another side of the political divide helps them. I keep saying you create a class of have and have not. You create a class of people with everything to lose and a class of people with nothing to lose. Who do you think will feel it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who do you think becomes the target?
And it's interesting that this report is out, this human rights report out of the State Department, human rights report for Guyana, out of the State Department, because there was another report based on a poll. I thought we had it on the trend, but we don't. That is from the International Republican Institute, which did a poll here on several issues. And like that, I perhaps could see Gail Teixeira and her ilk saying that this State Department report is incredible, because that's what they've said now of the International Republican Institute's report on its poll. That's not credible. Because if we link it, for instance, to the American stopping short of saying that if 2020 elections were credible, 38% of Guyanese believe that the results coming out of the elections
Were not.
were credible.
Were
38.
30, right.
So the majority.
So the majority believes that they weren't.
Yeah.
So this is the problem that you have. The PPP, and this is where the people have to begin to be their own not anti-propaganda, and share valid and credible information.
Correct.
This is where you have a role to play as the public to disabuse people of these false notions. If that were a poll, of course, that supported the PPP, it would have been all over. It would have been on Facebook. They would have been putting out their ads with it. But because they're staring squarely in the face of facts and of opinions of the Guyanese people, what they're saying is that the opinion doesn't matter. A government that cared would have said, look, we bring this organization, the AG was in the papers with this organization and talking about their role in electoral reform and so on and so forth. But now they have conducted a poll that says that you're doing a piss poor job of managing the country, basically.
They put things lightly.
That people have no faith in you. And instead of Irfan and his administration taking that poll and saying, you know what, we are cognizant of the poll, we have noted areas that we can improve, and we are committed to doing so on behalf of the people of Guyana. No, they batog the messenger. Same thing with the bird and the roundabout. Mediocre, but we're standing by the people. And as I drove past that roundabout this morning, it occurred to me that what they're trying to do is to acclimatize Guyanese to mediocrity. So that you can pass and see the bird. When you're in a surroundings, it's a psychological trick that they use. When you're in a surroundings, you come into a house and it's dirty. And you see it dirty. And the extent to which it is dirty registers with you, but keep coming in the house every day. And suddenly
You get acclimatized
become
to the filth.
acclimatized to that filth. And so, like I keep saying, the bird is just a microcosm. They know that it is substandard, but they intend to acclimate Guyanese to mediocrity. So we can pass the bird every day, we can look up, and then suddenly that ugly bird, maybe it is so ugly, you know.
It's unique.
Maybe yeah.
It's unique.
We gotta be aware.
One
of
of
these
the
things.
folks, and man, so one of the reasons that Gail Teixeira gave why this poll was, as she said, it wasn't what she said, it wasn't valid or something strange. Let me see if we get it back.
Was because it didn't have the authorization from the ethics.
Yeah, and that's what I'm coming to. She said that the poll conducted involved humans. You could poll animals, I don't know. And it must go before the Ministry of Health Ethics Committee. In this regard, no request was made or prior approval granted.
Well, you know, it is for IRI to respond.
Why if I want to conduct a poll?
There's some countries that have requirements.
You know.
The reality is, and this is where Gail's case will fall apart because there is research.
So you tell me when what's his name? The guy who always has a poll.
Their guy
who always has a poll.
Shows.
Right? He applies to the committee and is granted
You think so?
thing. Huh?
You think so?
So other people must apply to the committee.
But this is what happens when your institutions don't function. The reality is, and they've been researchers who have been faced with this problem, and they have written about this issue. And they have concluded basically that there does not appear to be a proper structure in place for this. There are articles that I've read because, you know, I like research. And so when I saw this, I was like, Gail is up and about. Yeah. But there are people who have done research from universities overseas that came with the same issue.
Yeah.
And they tried to get approval and had to be calling all over. And then they were finally told, oh, no, you don't need approval. Unless it is a government official that is being polled or interviewed.
So, you know, we're talking about that and how things are not what they really should be. And them now trying to discredit this poll. They said, you know, kind of like if you poll people during COVID, you might get the best response out of them, and you know every excuse. But you know what the people are coming to do.
Yeah, but they also know, and why they're allowed to get away with it is because they know that there are people who would actually hang on to that and regurgitate that foolishness. This is why they're allowed to get away with it. The minute they understand that Guyanese sauce them and we understand what they're about, they're gonna stop this foolishness. And Irfan will insist that this cabinet operates properly. Because he's clearly up here saying one thing, and his ministers are on the bottom here doing the gods. Quite the opposite of what he speaks as the president.
Yeah. And the poll also reveals that a large amount of Guyanese don't see how this oil and gas wealth is going to benefit them. They don't see that. They don't understand it. A lot of Guyanese too are hungry, you know, not making ends meet. I mean, we knew that, but
Sherrod, and this is where utterances like the one Bar Jack Deal makes about, oh, we will not see the oil wealth for some time. He and his boys are seeing the oil wealth.
I saw a concert over the weekend.
He and his boys are seeing the oil wealth. The average Guyanese in Canal number 2 ain't seeing the oil wealth, but I guarantee you that he and his boys are seeing it today, immediately. We in the debates in the National Assembly showed how we're just cutting infrastructure by a mere 20% could ensure that immediately public servants would get a substantial increase. The nurses, how sugarcane workers could be helped. We showed it with the numbers.
Yeah.
We didn't sit down and just pull this out of thin air.
Yeah. And you know, the current administration should not be adverse to this, because these were the folks who say you can't eat road,
You can't eat
you
road.
can't eat
And
trade.
Jill, when
know.
David Patterson was just brawling and tearing up and doing the roads and communities had new roads, but you can't eat road. Now, these are the same people who are coming back to tell Guyanese, oh, we're putting it in infrastructure because the road will lead to farms, and think that the Guyanese people are so, like we backward or something, that we cannot remember these things. These are the guys that said to the sugar workers that we will make sugar great again. How is that going?
Well, I'm happy you're there, Mans, because it takes us into the big issue for today, which is broken vows. And this theme, this header, broken vows, is taken from an editorial of the Starbuck News over the weekend. And Starbuck News, again, we love to say to folks that we like to use independent sources, because sometimes when you say stuff, people think, oh, it's just Amanda talking. She's part of the parliamentary opposition, so it's propaganda. It's all of that.
Yeah.
But this is Starbuck News, who I would say, my own behalf, in my own estimation, has been leaning government. Since the administration came in.
Yeah,
I might be wrong, but my reading of Starbuck News suggests that. But Starbuck News over the weekend didn't pull any punches by talking about the broken promises of the administration. And this is stuff that we've been talking about here every single day when we talk about breaking down of the guardrails
every
of
day
democracy.
we say it.
Yeah.
But again, we are viewed as opposition, and you have an agenda, so it's not credible. But Starbuck News took the government to task. And they had some very strong words. But you know what? Again, I don't think that Irfan will pay attention. He will continue to govern in the most stiff-necked manner.
But I think there's where you're wrong, Amanda.
You think he will pay attention?
No, not him paying attention. That he will govern. Listening to your choice word, he will govern. Right? Somebody will tell him what to do. I like
bring her back the
he is not governing. Irfan is not governing. Don't let me fool myself, because don't let me fool myself.
Yeah, that's
right.
That
this is the
hierarchy.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right? This is the hierarchy. And we all know this. Don't let me fool myself. You might got investors watching us this morning. We might got people who are new to this country watching us. And the reality
we would
is
not
that
want to mislead them.
Yes.
But you see, and this is where the danger comes, because who are you looking to make decisions? And even with the engagement of the leader of the opposition, for example, how does the leader of the opposition know that whatever Irfan commits to, he has the power to see through?
Yeah. He has to go back.
Have implications.
Right? Irfan has to go to a higher power.
To the power behind the throne. To say, well, here, no. We agree to, you think?
Yeah. He has to go back to a higher power. At least he's fired.
I mean, we say this casually, but these things have implications for our daily lives.
They do.
They affect down to whether we got to have 8 hours of blackout for maintenance, or whether we will be a city or a country that has reliable power supply. These things have implications for us, and Starbuck News, they weighed in.
I don't think one time in 5 years, the last administration, we had 8 hours of blackout. I don't think there have been one time, any single stretch, you had 8 hours of blackout.
I don't think so. I was happy to serve on PPDI, that
Power
Producing Distribution Inc., which was an entity formed by the AP and AFC administration to take over from Wartilla because their contract ended. The formation of that company caused massive savings to Guyanese. I mean, your Guyanese have no idea how much money we were paying to do that. Local engineers took that thing, ran with it, first order business for the government, got the company, frustrate all of the capable and competent young men and women out of it.
And bring back Dindial.
Bring back Barrett India. I mean,
who they fired? 8 hours blackout.
Guyanese, we deserve better. But I want us to talk a little bit about highlight some of the broken vows. According to Starbuck News.
Well, you got the sugar industry, which is first and foremost. That was their flagship project beginning with Skeldon. and the promise to reopen sugar estates. And we now know that none of that will be happening in terms of reopening of the sugar estates.
They've
None of
said
that.
that. They've said that, and so they lied
Yeah.
to the sugar
Yeah.
to the sugar workers. They lied. There's no
Yeah.
way about it.
And Starbucks News said they would have known.
lied.
They had no intention.
And they
of
would
doing
have
it.
known. And how Jack Dio knew since before Skeldon, because his words were that if Skeldon doesn't come on stream, sugar is dead. That is an article in the Starbucks News quoting him.
Yeah.
And this is what he does. He paints a most dire picture of if he doesn't get his way. Oh, if we don't build this bridge. Oh, if we don't do that. Oh, if we don't do this.
Yeah.
And he uses fear mongering to control people and their opinions. And this is why we are where we are. Skeldon hasn't produced a pound of sugar yet. Guyanese taxpayers, and I want the public servants to understand that the taxes that you pay are going into repaying a CDB loan for a factory that doesn't produce 1 pound of sugar.
And you know what, Amanda, they knew that. I mean, this alone as an issue can occupy, programs.
Yeah.
Because look at the fact that we've had how many? 3 budgets to date, and how much money, knowing Guy was going nowhere, they've thrown into Guy.
Right. Since 2022, how many billions? How many billions?
Just in 2022, 6 billion went into Guy.
2021,
Budget in
2020.
February.
Right? Over 20 billion, not with a M, with a B.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
If that's $6 billion, and we're gonna do the math and divide it up for you to see that if the amount of money spent behind sugar that they knew was dead, because we said to them, you have to right size the industry. Now, Jack, they are talking about right sizing.
Yeah.
If you had taken that money, half of the mothers who are wondering how they're feeding their children today would not be in that situation.
That sounds like, I don't know, that sounds like negligence to me. That sounds like malfeasance. And
they don't care.
Yeah.
And then they control a segment of the population with lies, and they continue to believe their lies. And I feel very strongly about this because they continue, and these are good people. These are Guyanese. They want to work hard. They want to take care of their families. They want to feed their children. And they go into these communities and they lie to them and they manipulate them for their own gain. They are reaping the benefits of the oil money right now. Meanwhile, you got to wait 20 years. Yeah. Why?
You know, another indictment of that column over the weekend, Broken Vows in Sabbath News, is the fact that they made a point that any organization, NGO, that the administration cannot control, the breakup.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's surprising that Sabbath News would say that, because if you look at, for instance, the Linden Utility Company, that they recently installed an IMC, claiming that the persons who are there, don't know how to manage it. If you look at what transpired recently with the Barnacle Boat Association, they had a democratic election that an administration overturned and imposed an IMC because their people were not in charge of it. It is quite telling. It is quite telling.
And for Starbucks News to say that out loud, I mean, you could just sense the level of fed up.
Yeah, fed upness
of the editor.
Yeah,
he was just fed up of it. If they cannot control the organization, that is the control freakism that our colleague Kemra Dramjatan speaks about. And that has prevented the emergence of a strong civil society. Because civil society is important in terms of a check and balance in governance, but the PPP means to infiltrate all of it. And frankly, the members of the civil society organizations have to hold themselves accountable for being infiltratable, is a word?
Infiltratable. But as you on that, on infiltratable and accountability, their attention was also turned to the National Resources Fund demands. And they said that the fund was, an aspect of it was gutted again, so that you don't have oversight. You don't, and I think it was the oversight committee or something, I can't remember the exact phrasing of it. Again, handpicking people that are supportive of the administration's agenda.
Said in the National Assembly. This is why we behaved in the manner that we behaved, because we understood that once this thing was passed, that was it. Now, I have observed some comments, and I'm glad you raised this issue because I think that we need to begin to bring the information to our people about what without prejudice means. We continue to maintain, and we've challenged this bill in the courts. The reality is that because this is the law, until the court pronounces that the monies are being spent. And so not because we engage on the issue means that we are acknowledging the legitimacy of the issue. What we are acknowledging is the reality that there's a board in place, that money will be spent. Now, if the court rules that it is illegal, all of that will be deemed an illegality. But it does not mean that we can take our hands off. So that is what we call without prejudice. So not because I'm addressing this issue means that I am acknowledging the legitimacy or otherwise of the government's action. Because I see a lot of people say, oh, the legislation, good or it's not good. It does not matter at this point. The reality is that the government is operating as if the legislation is legal. And so we have a duty to engage. But that is without prejudice to the claim that we have in court.
Correct.
So I hope that brings some clarity.
Correct. So there's that. There's all the controversy where that is concerned in National Resource Fund, and then the editorial broken vows in the Santa Cruz over the weekend also talks about the fact that they have been removing eminently qualified people from senior posts like Dr. Vincent Adams, Rudy Jadupat. You got the guy at the food
Marlon
Cole. From the I'm trying to remember the
Food and Drug Department.
Food and Drug Department. Yeah. And the others. There have been others. You've had the gentleman also at the environmental Department of the Environment, Ministry of the Presidency, now Ministry of the all of that, qualified, eminently qualified. And Santa Cruz made a point, they say that Rudy Jadupat hosted a meeting on behalf of the AFC in the US 7 years ago, but you got Prem Mazir, who they call
political hatchet,
a sycophant and a hatchet one.
This is
right?
public news words, not mine.
Who they have now replaced as eminently qualified Rudy Jadupat's replacement at the Extractive Industries Oversight Body. Quite telling.
That is a key body. People do not understand the importance, I think, sometimes of the EITI. It is transparency in the extractive industry. And this is where, when people talk about what y'all do in the 5 years, I keep saying that what the APNU AFC was doing, not perfectly, but they were doing it. Is laying the foundation for good governance. Because our paradigm to governance is different. We believe that you build institutions and allow the institutions to serve the people. The PPP approach is quite different. You gotta come and kiss the ring.
Kiss the ring. What was also instructive is the fact that they also were very critical of all of the constitutional agencies and entities that exist but are not operational. You got the Judicial Service Commission 2 years on, that is not operational. You got the Teaching Service Commission 2 years on, not operational. You got the Police Service Commission, members were appointed, I think, recently, but it's not for all intents and purposes operational right now. You got the Integrity Commission, which Jagdio told Isabel Young, if you want to know how we doing financially, check with them boys, but them boys aren't operational, right? Them boys are the Integrity Commission. The Integrity Commission, they're not operational, We were due for local government elections, more than a year ago. That has not had. Right? Local government commission, all of, a lot of institutions, not operational.
I think we have to take stock of ourselves as Guyanese. There's no other way that we can say it.
And that's why I think Gail Teixeira earning a salary on the false pretense, because if we're talking about Minister of Governance. Right? What does she do on a daily basis as Minister of Government? Her role is to say, the IRI
poll.
It lacks integrity.
Lacks integrity.
Yeah,
And you know,
believe
people
that.
think that we come here every day and we do this because you want attention or whatever. This is honestly about bringing information to the Guyanese people.
Yeah.
When people get out into the streets and begin to protest, they must know why.
Mm.
And they must have a grasp of the issues,
Mm.
because it is the grasp of those issues that will ensure that when you take a course of action, you're able to stick to it because you
Yeah.
understand what you're fighting for
Yeah.
and what the struggle is about.
Yeah. But I'm actually talking about that. You know, the editor of Chronicle, trying to remember what the fellow's name is, but he had resigned under the last administration during the protracted period of the election, took a quote unquote principal position that they were holding on to power and the election was already decided. I wonder how they feel when they read an editorial like that out of Starbuck News. You know, how do they parse that to see, but Starbuck News is up new AFC now? You know, you have a lot of people, a lot of righteous people in this government, you know, as ministers. When they wake up Sunday morning and they read that kind of editorial, what goes through their mind? Do they contemplate resigning in protest from their own government? Or just say, you know, this is propaganda from Starbuck News or something like
They
that?
will say it's propaganda from Starbuck News. I don't think the men and women who are in the ministerial positions in the government have the fortitude to stand. I mean, at least Young, he decided, you know what, I can't be a part of this, and he resigned
Yeah,
from his position.
And this was the
At
former
least-
chairman
at
of the
least-
Chronicle
At
board.
least he did that.
And you had also Christopher Ram, who was
Chris Rabb.
on the
At
what
least.
do you
At
call it?
least. But you know, I don't hold brief for these people, and I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt until they disprove me. I don't think we have men and women in the government who are so in touch with their conscience as to say this is wrong and I cannot be a part of it.
Because I think what Starbuck News was saying is that if this is 2 years in, I don't want to see what 5 looks like. And we got to adjust these things now.
But there will be no addressing of it. What you will see, and remember on this day, Sharon and I, we spoke about it. You will see closer to the election time,
Giveaways.
they're going to just be throwing money at the Guyanese people. Throwing money at the Guyanese people. Mark our words, you will see that happening because they think that they can buy us out. They think that we are fickle, and they think that, you know, man, just gotta give them a couple things and they have us in line. That is what they think about us. This is why they are governing in the manner that they are governing right now, because they know that they can get away with it. Because they're going to throw 3 shows, bring in 2 superstars, and we're going to throw it down at the stadium. And then elections morning, we're going to turn up. Meanwhile, they will make sure that their people turn up. And that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
We got it.
Interesting. Required reading, folks. Broken Vowels. Editorial Starbuck News and Saturday, I think it was. Required reading as you begin the week. Yep.
I will post it. I think Sharon has it on the website.
Yeah,
Credible
we can.
Sources.
We can.
Go to the website, and we will see that, you know, this is what we've been saying all along. This is what we have been saying all along. This is not about the PPP versus the AP and new AFC. This is about good governance for this nation that we call home.
Yeah.
This is where we were born. Why can't we insist on good governance here? Why must we have to leave here to go experience basic things like a clean environment?
Elsewhere.
Why
How
do
we
we
got
need
lip
to do
service?
that?
Because that's what good governance right now is. Lip service. Good governance, transparency, accountability, and all. It's just talk. It's just fancy. One day, fanciful talk, kept by a jumbie bird. That being said, guys, that's our program today. That's our program. We see you there, Ruth, GT Root Girl, and Rita Singh, and you know, all the other fast
Anna
people.
Garden. Good morning, Gigi Rude.
Yeah. I see Yonette Marshall is here with us as well. Wilton Abrams, Wilton Blue, all the Wiltons. Good to have you guys here.
Maureen Coppin Williams. Good morning, Maureen, and Christy Burrows. Christy said, great job. Thank you. Thank you, Christy. We are just passionate about bringing information to the people of Guyana.
Credible and valid.
So that they can decide Informed citizens make informed decisions. And so this is why this program is called FYI. It's for your information.
For information.
And so Lynette, Marnella, Kevin, Claire, Alexis, Chomley, Richmond, good morning to you guys. Thank you for joining us. This is our program for today. And we just want to encourage you to share. Before you leave, share. We're seeing on the back end that there are over 1,000 of you viewing us live.
Yeah.
So imagine if each one of you share the live stream, how far it will go.
Yep.
Smash the emoji buttons. And you know, Victor Singh, we're about to do that thing that you think that we should be ashamed about, but we are not, because we intend to run this program and we intend to bring credible information to the people. And so, Shara, take it away. How can they give?
You know, anything you guys see here, you can verify elsewhere. The information, anything you see or hear here, you can verify for yourself as being, as man said, valid and credible. That's what we're involved in here. Valid and credible information. And the stuff we talk about here, you won't see broken vows on NCN. You won't see broken vows on in GPI. You won't see broken vows in the Chronicle. Right? They won't pick up a story out of that. You won't see it there. You won't see that on Newsroom or one of Organic Times, for instance. No. You're not gonna see that. We can discuss it because it's the facts, and we think it's not only us thinking in this way. We can't all be wrong, and you all are the only angels, right? And so, guys, we want to continue to do these programs, to build them out, to do them more professionally, to do them better, bigger and better, guys, and to just keep going. Help us to do that. Partner with us, because Zelle, Cash App, MMG, PayPal, we're available via MoneyGram, via Western Union as well. You want to know how? You want some more information and guidance? Our WhatsApp number is our MMG number, 627-6963. 627-6963. Yeah.
And guys, remember to go out, have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day.
Just remember, smash the emoji button, share the live stream, and whoever you meet, just have a kind word. Just have a kind word, whether it be good morning, how are you, have a blessed day. Just have a kind word, because our citizens are dealing with so much. And so just one smile, just one kind word, and maybe talk somebody off of the edge. And so God bless you guys. Have a great day. Go ahead and make it a great day. Thanks for joining us.